Okay. Oh, this is a part one and two one. Let's do this one. Okay. Ooh, wow, this is like super detailed. Okay. It's not maybe not a long one, but it looks interesting. Okay. It's part one and two. So hop on in, folks. It's gonna be a long one. This I just I saw a little bit of it, so maybe just a bit of a warning on this one because it might be a lot. So if you have a problem with certain themes, I think it said I saw something about sexism, so it might go down a bad path. So just a heads up for people. That being said, this one is from Escatonic from 4 days ago. Thank you, Escatonic. My first online pickup game. Whoo boy, do I have a good story for you folks. I always thought that some of the tales in here were exaggerated for comic effect, but wow. Turns out it can get really weird out there. So, for context, I've been playing TTRPGs for many years now. I recently picked up the latest version of Vampire the Masquerade V5. I always wanted to try that. It seemed like a fun time, but I've never played it before. With a view to running a game for some friends, I used to run D&D for back before the lockdown separated us all. I've only played V5 once before and wanted to get a better handle on the game, see how other people ran it. So naturally, I browsed through the world of darkness of V5 Discord, and they're looking for group listings. Excuse me again. You ever played online with strangers before, but how bad could it be for a girl just looking to find a game? Oh, it can be very bad, dear OP. It can be very bad. um, okay, a promising start. Oh, I like the titles. Good for you. Good for you. I like this poster already. Um, the game I found initially looked promising. Sorry to keep drinking. My mouth is just super dry. The storyteller ST and the game setting were both in my country, and the campaign brief looked interesting. I messaged the ST and was accepted basically immediately. He said that my application was by far the most interesting. I'm not sure why. It was just a quick summary of some games I played before and what I enjoy out of role playing, but now I have my suspicions. Asked me some positive seeming vetting questions and claimed to have 8 years of experience running games. Oh, red flag. It was at this point where he pretty much pulled a bit of a bait and switch with me on the campaign pitch. He said he had another game in the works that needed a player and pitched me that game as well. I said the both sounded interesting, but ultimately figured that he seemed more committed to running the bait and switch game, so it was probably better to join it. Oh boy. Um, that's unfortunate. I would. Okay. Okay. More red flags in the Spring of Nations. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm a history major. I feel like I should know this, but whatever. Sorry for those of you who know what that is, and I don't. Feel free to post in the comments of the inevitable YouTube video that I make about this to tell me what that is, or I could just look it up later. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I show up to the Discord server and have a look around. It had lots of separate channels for different purposes. Red flag with bad I like the red flag for everything. With badly formatted, seemingly spoilery copy and pasted setting information scattered across them. As I'm scrolling back through some of the channel, I note that a player has been kicked out of the game, apparently for taking the piss with his character sheet. The sheet is still up and indeed does look completely ludicrous. Scrolling it back a bit further under the red flag, scrolling back a bit further, however, I discovered that the ST was lying characters as low as 7th generation and had granted low generation characters 200 XP to play with. I don't know what that. Oh, there might be a. Is it a footnote? Oh my god, it's a footnote. Okay. Should I scroll down? Oh, that's an. Oh, cool. This post has footnotes. Oh my god, this is insane. This is incredible, guys. Mm. I didn't notice the first one. Um, the VT Master in Combat. The game Vampires. The game is mostly designed to run for start with 0 XP. Even the most powerful characters the book lays create, ones who have lived for hundreds of years, only start with 35 XP. By the book rate of XP game for V5 is 1 XP per session. So holy shit. Okay. Um, I can't go back and check, but I have the strong suspicion that the player had indeed created their character by the rules they were given. Before I could read too much, the ST asked a few of us who were online to join a voice call. He starts out by explaining he's sort of the person who talked a lot that he had autism and other learning difficulties. Fair enough, I think of myself. I've got friends with autism and have had autistic DMs before. This is useful enough for calibrating expectations. He then launches into a lengthy spiel about himself as DM and then, red flag, his super awesome character in another game he's playing. I keep fairly quiet because I don't know any of these people, and they seem like to be having fun making edgy in jokes and enthusing about how powerful their characters are going to be. The call wraps up, and one of the players, who for reasons that will become more obvious later, I'm going to refer to as role player dude, says pretty sincerely that it was nice to meet me. Red flag. ST immediately jumps in and says, "Hey, hey, don't flirt with her too much, haha." Okay, great. Um, red flag. Later, ST direct messaged me at 2 a.m. with a "Hey there," which I almost fend off because I need to sleep. Over the next, which I mostly fend off, excuse me, because I need to sleep. Over the next few days, he asked me to join voice with him to sort out character ideas. For whatever reason, he doesn't want to use the private text channel set up for us to use, but to be honest, I can understand that, especially if he has dyslexia. But it's during these calls that, red flag, he makes a few off-color sexist comments and is generally awkward. At one point, I make the mistake of explaining that he might be unavailable for a bit since I just broken up with one of my partners, red flag, which he immediately takes as an opportunity to pry into my personal life. Q, I'm a very curious person. Fortunately, he seems to lose interest and just takes a hint when I decline to talk about it further. Oh boy, oh boy. Hey, oh, I don't like this. Okay, okay. Meanwhile, 8 years experience running games. Okay. Meanwhile, the promise session 0 footnote. Let's go scroll down here. Um, VTM context. VTM is perhaps obviously a game that can touch on a lot of dark themes and really benefits from the kind of social contract building that normally happens in session 0. I would also expect this to be the session where we collaboratively work on things like the relationship map, how characters connect to each other, chronicle tenets, a metatextual moral code for the game world, and the specific lore of the campaign setting. This is really helpful because I really never played Vampire the Masquerade. STS us to finish our character sheets, come with touchstones, backstories, and chronicle tenets before it starts. I find this confusing because this is stuff I would expect to do in a session 0, but I'm not the kind of person who gets overly attached to a character before a game starts, even if I've worked on them a lot. That said, at this point, I'm starting to worry that the ST might not know what he's talking about. ST is looking through my character, and on one of the voice calls, he asked me what my abilities does. I explained to him, basically reading from the book, that he declares that I can get the same ability for much cheaper. I ask how, and he links me to a wiki listing a bunch of Chronicles of Darkness merits. Scroll down to the footnotes. World of Darkness context. Vampire the Requiem, set in the Chronicles of Darkness and World of Darkness setting, is a significantly different game and exists in an entirely different fictional world. Okay. I decline to take the cheaper ability because it doesn't really make sense in a original World of Darkness V5. Red flag. Later, SC declared out of the blue that we would be getting both powers at every level, and when pressed on it, had said this has always been the case in every game he played. Now, I don't want to get bogged down by the nitty gritty of V5 character gen in this post, but then raised quite a few questions about how we build our characters. Admittedly, we were already throwing balance out the window by playing super-powered ancient vampires, but from these and a number of other rule confusions, it was rapidly becoming clear that ST had never actually run a game of V5 before. ST then proceeds to have a bit of a meltdown over BS for clarifications, asked us to vote on whether we wanted to run by the book, and then it was clear most of the players preferred to run with the normal rules. Red flag. Disregarded our comments and decided to go with his rules anyway, so not really answering any of the questions that we had. Along for the ride. At this point, I wasn't going to ignore the mounting red flags. I was just along for the ride. I'd already finished my character and backstory, and the session 0 was due to happen in a couple of days. Oops, sorry. It was clear this campaign was going to be an absolute car crash, so I just wanted to see how bad it was going to get. I'll admit, I was thinking of the folks on this sub. One other player, role player dude, had submitted a compelling backstory, the others nothing. Eventually, another player submits a few lines which he can sum up by saying that his character is a Viking sent by Odin. Okay, gonna scroll down again. Vampire the Masquerade context. In this guy's defense, Odin is an actual vampire in the World of Darkness setting, so while it was still a bit of lacking as the backstories go, this isn't quite as absurd as it first sounds. Good to know. Who appeared to happen to get caught up in all this. I'm going to refer to this guy as Viking Dude. A third, clearly also frustrated with ST's bullshit, but unwilling to stick it out for entertainment value, quit. ST got a replacement in pretty quickly, but less than 5 minutes after the new person joined, Viking Dude welcomed them with a joke about orgies, and they immediately and very understandably quit the server in response. Yeah, yeah. Um, the long-awaited session zero began, and the long-awaited yeah. Making jokes like that, just to clarify, making jokes like that like can be fine if like you're in a group of like your friends and like the established, you know, the you have an established repertoire with your group, but like for someone who's new and just like doesn't know anyone, it's very uncomfortable and like kind of fucked up to like make just jokes out of the blue like that if you don't know that they're comfortable with it. I understand people are different, but you know that's just my opinion on it. The long-awaited session zero began, and it began like all good session zero should, with our characters waking up together in a crypt and an NPC talking at us. We get mostly railroaded through the campaign's inciting incident, and establishing scenes in what was now obvious was just a regular session one, during which all the NPCs were uh all the NPCs were either simping over my character or sucking up to her in a way that I found more than a little creepy. By some miracle, the session stays mostly on track. ST seems content to just let us, as players, make rules calls for him. Since we are all experienced enough to recognize a heavily prepped campaign start, content to stay on the rails in order to facilitate the game. Of the other players, with the exception of role playing dude, who I'm having a whale of a time bouncing off of, are really role playing much though. At the end of the session, one player immediately leaves the campaign. ST struggles for a while but can't find a replacement, harangues us all for missing a bunch of his content, and gloats over how much we were tricked by his NPCs and made terrible decisions. The story doesn't end there, though. I assume it continues with A New Hope. In the background, role player dude has messaged me to ask if I join the campaign he's running. I jump at the chance since seems to know the rules, understands how to roleplay, and generally seems like a nice person. Maybe I get a decent game out of this fiasco after all. I join his Discord server, only to be greeted by a familiar handle in the members list, the ST from the other game. I finally clock which game he'd been boasting about his super awesome edgy character for. It was this one. Oh boy, I think. I gotta check out his backstory for this character. Reader, can you guess what the deal was with his backstory? It was mine. Oh, fuck. Oh, oh no. Hilariously, he literally copied and pasted my character's backstory from the other game, changing some, but not all, of the pronouns and names. Some, but far from all, of the contextual information, and almost none of the sentence structure, let alone story beats. Just a couple of paragraphs tacked on at the end explaining how he was a super powerful badass. Now, I'm normally pretty chill about people taking inspiration from my writing, but this was straight up a terrible copy and paste job. I don't even want to get into why they were apparently American marquises. Um, oh, is it like I think it's a royal title, but I'm not sure. In the 1790s, or why his character was born in the 18th century but fought in battles in the 17th. But holy shit, it was the most absurd thing I've ever read. I asked him if he's planning on changing it or updating it, partly because I don't really appreciate him taking my writing and using it where he thought I wouldn't find out, and partly because it genuinely doesn't make sense. He shrugs and responds non-committally, and when roleplaying dude steps in to tell him that it's not cool, begrudgingly responds with sigh, fine. He gets the bad story and reposts it, but really all he's done is add another paragraph at the start and changed a few more of the names. Roleplaying dude lets me know that he's on his final warning, partly for the background shit and for some other XP spend chicanery, I think. uh, Shenanigans. I, I personally would use that word. I think it's more fun. But you know, you've had a good post so far, so not gonna complain. And to his credit, apparently sits through several hour voice call with him in order to rewrite his background from scratch. This morning, I woke up to a message from roleplayer dudes telling me he had to let ST go from his game, and he was quitting ST's game, which was a shame because he was basically the sole redeeming feature. Anticipating drama of monumental levels, I go to find ST server, and it's gone, either deleted or I've been kicked out. Honestly, it was kind of a relief. Edit. Oh, and I just discovered ST is now advertising another new game in the World of Darkness Discord under our new Discord alias. I hope it goes better than this one did. Edit. 2. The pitch for his new campaign is also plagiarized. Very funny. That was a really good post, actually. Very well formatted. I liked all the footnotes, just in case people didn't like understand some of the concepts. So that was very helpful to me. Um, my thoughts. I am not nearly educated enough on the nuances of having autism. So it's not something I feel comfortable commenting on. Um, I'm sure there are more people out there who are more qualified, preferably people who are autistic and understand some of the nuances of being autistic. So I don't want to comment on any of that. But just some of the behavior here is just pretty unacceptable. Like, plagiarism is pretty terrible. Just like straight up stealing people's ideas is bad, and just having sexist comments and constantly flirting with someone through D&D is just really questionable and kind of rude and it creepy, as OP says. Um, so I'm gonna read the second post now because there seems to be more to it. Hoping that's interesting. So thank you guys, Katonic, for that post. I'm gonna do the part two now. Mhm. Okay, everyone. Uh, TLDR recap. Creepy Sexist VTM. ST runs a car crash of a campaign. I discover he's plagiarizing my writing. When I'm invited to a game run by one of the other players, he gets kicked out of that game for the plagiarism, blatant cheating, and general offense. Okay, so I thought all of this was over and done with, but here's an exquisitely absurd coda to all of this. Remember that in role player dude, gonna call him new ST in this thread, this campaign. Former ST got himself kicked out for a bunch of reasons. We thought that would be the last of it and prepared to get out with the new game. New ST recruits a couple more players to make up for former ST. I'm playing a thin blood in the new game. I don't know what that means, but sure. This puts me a little behind the other players in terms of power level. I'm guessing it means like a new vampire, but I don't know. Not that I mind, but new ST asked to run through a quick player to give me a story in to balance things out. The prelude goes well. It was super enjoyable. As we're wrapping up in the voice channel, one of the new players jumps in. Fortunately, we're done, so they're not interrupting much. They want to talk about their character and ask some rules questions, so we keep chatting. They appear to be using a oh no. They appear to be using a very heavy voice changer, which is making them super inaudible to both me and UST. UST asked him to tone it down a little and asked whether it's necessary since he wants to stream on Twitch and this is going to cause problems. I've thought about doing that too, but I don't know if I could deal with people criticizing my DMing. Um, I mean, I'm streaming right now, but like in terms of DMing, it's a whole other level. New player says they want to keep it, but does turn it down slightly, and they do. And I notice a hint of a familiar accent. USC does too, and it messes you with a. Does he sound familiar to you? Yup, you guessed it. New player is clearly former ST with a brand new Discord account and using a voice changer, trying to get back into this campaign. Me and new ST are literally speechless. I have to ask him whether I'm getting punked because this whole situation is so absurd it's unreal. Eventually, I just outright call former ST on his shit. He tries to deny it, but responds in a way that clearly indicates he knows he's been caught. He tries to barefaced lie his way out, but the more he talks, the clearer it is. Eventually, new ST declares he's running an IP trace on his username. Former ST bails and starts sending a bunch of shitty private messages. Left in the voice channel, still completely speechless. New ST apologizes for not having done a voice interview earlier, but honestly, I'm like, what kind of person would think that getting back into a game you'd be kicked out by using a voice changer? It's like the oral equivalent of using a fake mustache. The fact that he thought we wouldn't figure it out too was like, how stupid do you think we are? So, yeah, just when I thought it couldn't get any weirder, I really hope there isn't a part 3 to the story. Um, it's pretty funny. I mean, I got nothing more to say about that. That's intense.